I'm glad you're here. Do what it takes to be in the room, because we're about to begin. Hi, Gabrielle.
Hi, Rich.
So they haven't seen us sitting together in this way yet. But I said, hey, could I coach you? And what nobody knows is that it's been edgy for both of us the last few days in all sorts of ways. We've been on our own intensive journey. Mm-hmm. In this moment, I want to let all of that go. This is more for me than for you, but if you get benefit from it, that's great. Mm-hmm. Hey.
Hi.
If I was going to coach you on anything right now, what would it be?
The famous question. So I've thought about this for quite some time. And because you and I have spent some time together over the course of the last year, and consistently, I kind of have a question for you. And my question would be is, from observing and just being around me, where do you feel like I can sharpen my tool or tools?
Nice.
And
nice. So you just hit the ball right back to me just then, but I'm not going to take it. And I have some context. Mm-hmm. So what I know about you is that when you were 20 something, you built a business as a personal trainer. You were making 150 grand a year in a field where people charge 10, 20 bucks an hour. You were doing extraordinary things at a young age. I know for the last 7 years, you've immersed yourself in your own study and your own personal development, professional development, personal growth, mm-hmm. in a way beyond what you've ever done before. Mm-hmm. And I know that we've had brief conversations about this. Part of the reason you're here, you were at a live intensive 2 years ago?
I think it was like a year and a half ago.
Year and a half ago.
Like your last live event.
You came to be with us live. So mm-hmm. I'm gonna hazard a guess that creating clients is something that you would like to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How can I help you with that?
So like you said, my business has always been word of mouth. And so anytime you've given a challenge, as far as like go out and make a call, I have yet to go out and make a call. I have a lot of hesitation and resistance actually in my body, because my business was in New York. And I always found that if a client left, two always rolled in the next week. And so when I moved out to Los Angeles, I made an agreement with myself that I wasn't going to create clients out of desperation. I was going to work in the same way in which I worked there, which was meeting people, having conversations, teaching, and allowing people to actually come to me. And so that went well for, I would say, the first 2 years. And then when COVID happened, I didn't have anything in place. I didn't do any online work, and I allowed myself to rest. And during this time, part of me misses being in groups with people, teaching people. And so getting clients, going out there in the way in which you challenge us to do, my body resists all of it and wants to stay in the comfort zone that I've always been. And so the challenge is...
I can hear in your voice is almost like it's catching right now. Can you feel it almost like it's held back in your throat as you're sharing? There's a little tenseness in you I can feel right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Shake that off for a moment so you can get... And I'll tell you what I hear. What I understand about you, that I don't know if you get, just how extraordinary it is to build a word of mouth business. That few people on the planet actually do this. Yeah. That you were doing it from your early 20s, serving one person at a time. It looked like magic. People just showed up. But it's a testament to what you did to really serve people powerfully. Does that land? Can you, you get that?
Yeah. Yeah. So it feels like, we might have had this conversation, but just to bring everybody else in.
Don't worry, we're having a conversation. Yeah. Don't have to update
So it's like in the Shawshank Redemption, when the guy gets let out of jail after being in jail forever and then has to, find his footing in the new world. And he doesn't. He actually ends up hanging himself. And so I find myself not wanting to participate in this new world of whether it's, reaching out to people, social media, marketing yourself. There's part of me that feels like it takes up all this space and takes away from what I actually do. And so
again, I want to clarify what you actually do, what your experience is in building a word of mouth business is you meet people, connect to people, serve people. Sometimes they ask you, can we do more of this? And then sometimes you say, yes, you can. And this is the price.
Yeah.
And you've been in my community now for at least 18 months. And I know you immerse yourself in listening to the Prosperous Coach or watching my videos. And I'm curious why you're talking about this thing called marketing yourself and social media, because none of that is what I talk about. All we talk about here is serving people one conversation at a time.
Right. I think that somehow flooded into my tunnel somehow. And so now that you're asking, what can you help me with? I think it's cleaning that out and bringing me back to my home base.
Nice catch. Nice catch. Yeah. Remember I talked about confidence. There's the confidence of turning around, looking behind you at what you've done, rather than the confidence of, oh, I wish I had the confidence to do what's coming next.
Right.
We need to get you to turn around and remember you've been doing this your entire life.
Yeah.
It was probably so natural back then. You made up this story about, well, that was New York, but this is LA. As if there's something special about being there that made it happen. It can't happen over here. And it's exactly the same. We're going to have you turn around, look back at what you did to build a word of mouth business and do more of that. Even when COVID hit, it's almost like you created a little bit of a story there that something different was happening in the world, that you couldn't do what you've always done. Now, I know you wanted to rest, and I think that's worth catching. You really rested. And I think most of us don't do that. In olden times, we used to have a sabbatical in the teaching profession I'm from. Every 7 years, a sabbatical, every 7 years, you take a semester off to recover, to rejuvenate. And you did that. You had rejuvenation time. And I see your smile. It feels good on you.
Yeah.
So now we need to go back to basics. You've been teaching us the whole week about starting by grounding. We've got to start by grounding you in what you know how to do.
Yeah. And that's a good catch as well. Because the more that I rested this year and paused, I realized I'm grounded more than, if you want to say, the average bear, yet I'm not as grounded as I actually can be. And so if I was going to ask to be coached on anything, it would be to get as grounded as I actually can be.
Well, you know how to ground in the physical realm. How do we ground you each time creating clients is time to come up?
I'm unsure.
Well, I'd ask a teacher of mine who's been teaching me all week to get into my body. I mean, that's what you've been teaching us, right? It's you get in your head is my sense around there's this story and what does it mean and who do I reach out to, and then there's overwhelm, but get back into your body. What would you need to do right now? Because we're mic'd up in the space, we can't, if there was a bigger space, I'd literally get you down on the floor doing push-ups.
Yeah.
How would you get into your body right now without the ability to move out of the chair?
Maybe, is there a different way you can ask me the question?
Yeah, I think I can get you there. Okay. And so you're going to slap your legs to bring energy into your body. Slap your chest, slap your arms, your shoulders. Knee to your face, back of your head. Bring some energy into your body, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Who's one person that you've worked with in the past 12 months who you're no longer working with, but you'd absolutely love to work with again?
Can
you say her first name?
Andy.
Andy. Okay, great. What kind of work did you guys do together?
For the first 7 or 8 years that I worked with him, I trained him physically with weights, yoga, boxing. And then when I started to pull stress out of people's body, I started to implement the actual body work and the stretches on him. So we were doing the physical work, and then we were also doing the healing work. And so it ended up being a beautiful combination of both.
Nice, because most people don't know that you're a bodybuilder by background. You've got a background in very physical, everything from martial arts to boxing, weight training. And then you've got this healing spiritual modality you brought in, and you run the entire spectrum right now.
Yeah.
7 or 8 years, I don't know if you get this. It's extraordinary to have a client for 7 or 8 years. Not many people on the planet will have clients for that length of time.
Yeah.
Does that land? Do you understand that?
Yeah.
What's the laughter?
I do. I remember the first event that I went to where you had me sit down. So for the last 2 years, I've been sitting in that, which has kept me, in a space where I'm like, oh, I really only want to continue to be in a word of mouth business. So it's
So I'm going to come back to my question. I'm not sure. Yeah. I think you're missing it. And sometimes it's hard for these things to land for us. Do you understand how extraordinary it is to have a client for 7 or 8 years?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I have a smile on my face, and I'm letting you sit in this discomfort because my sense is you don't quite understand how extraordinary it is. I think you might kind of get it intellectually, but it's really, really extraordinary. When did you and Andy finish?
About 3 years ago when I moved.
So he's in New York right now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there any way for you to work with him if he's that far away? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, word of mouth works in 2 directions. Mm-hmm. It can be someone hearing about you, but it can also be you sending that word of mouth in that direction.
Yeah. And that's where I've never played before. Mm-hmm. So.
Well, 9 years ago, you had a background in bodybuilding and martial arts. You'd never played in anything beyond that. Mm-hmm. If you stayed in the realm of comfort, you'd still be a bodybuilder right now. Mm-hmm. Would that be giving you the life that you want if you'd stayed there?
No.
So it's always on the edge of your comfort zone mm-hmm. that great change happens for you. Okay, here we're here again.
Yeah.
Word of mouth happens in 2 directions. If I said to you, hey, do you know someone who'd get benefit from coming to one of my events? And if you do, would you either tell me their name or would you be willing to speak to them and say, oh my God, I've got something amazing to share with you?
Yeah.
Would you be willing to do that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You don't seem to hesitate in that.
No.
Why is that?
Because it's very easy for me to talk about other people.
Got it. What that tells me is that if you had to refer someone to me, you'd talk about me or you'd talk about the impact I've had on you. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to us, we do this thing where we think, I've got to go and tell someone about me. Mm-hmm. And you don't need to. Yeah. You are not the product.
I understand that now.
You are not the product. Yeah. And nor this thing you do. I mean, you can't even describe this thing to you that you do to people. I can't describe what you, sometimes you're literally walking on my body. Sometimes we're doing these body of light, spiritual practices. There's this whole range. Sometimes you're training my kids, doing boxing with them. Sometimes we're doing boxing. It's hard to explain what you do.
Yeah.
You don't have to. You talk about the transformation. What happened then? What was the sign?
It was like something landed. So when we began, or right before you began, you had us close our eyes, and it felt like my chair was being turned around, and it was like a corkscrew. So it felt like, if anything, something just popped, and then the air came out, where I'm able to breathe into this. And almost all the things that I've told myself are hard to do aren't really hard to do.
Yeah.
They're actually rather easy, but I've made them hard probably because I don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm. Nice catch.
Mm-hmm.
There's a pose you're getting me to do right now. I think it's the level 2 lung pose is what you call it.
Mm-hmm.
The first time
the level 2 large intestine.
Okay.
Yeah.
The first time we did it, it was agony. It really hurt my body.
Yeah.
And it was hard to stay in it for more than a couple of breaths. And now I can stay in it for 12 breaths. It's still hard.
Yeah.
It's still uncomfortable. But the more I do it, the more I enjoy doing it. I enjoy the discomfort because I see the impact it's having on me.
Yeah. So the pause is that me being a physical type, I almost have a physical reaction first. So I go physical, and then it's almost like it's able to make its way out my throat. So it's when you turn all the lights, when what is it called, the breaker,
mm-hmm.
and it's like and one of the lights went off, so then you turn everything off, and then you turn everything back on. So that's what it kind of feels like, everything's going. And it's interesting, it's piggybacking off of Fear Day, right? Because it's like we make up these stories about things that could be hard or that we're fearful of. And there's something that lifted yesterday where I was like, and what actually happens, right? You don't get punished. There's really nothing at the end of the day that you're really losing by even doing this. So let's make it real for a second.
There's a
really big clearing that just happened.
I feel that, and you're trying to put the feeling into words, and you don't need to, because you're not someone who processes out loud in that way. Yeah. So I'll let you stay with the feeling. If I said to you, give Andy a call and say, how you doing? Mm-hmm. And just check in. Mm-hmm. How would that be?
Oh, that would be lovely. Yeah.
And if you put all your attention on Andy on that call, mm-hmm. How's life? What's going on? How would that be?
I love that.
And if at some point Andy says, well, what about you? What are you up to? How would it be if you said, you know what? I'm really excited right now because I've built a word of mouth business for 20 years, for 20 years, and I'm up in my game. And so I'm looking for one client right now, and you describe that client, describe Andy to himself. Mm-hmm. And that's all you say. How would that be? How difficult or easy would that be?
Mm-hmm. Sounds easy.
How about you do this? Hey, Andy, one of the most uncomfortable things I've ever had to do is, when building a word of mouth business, is that once in a while, I actually ask someone if they know who'd be a great client. Most of the time it happens naturally and organically. And every once in a while I push myself out my comfort zone, mm-hmm. and I ask someone I love and admire if there's someone they know who'd get the same kind of value that they did from working with me. Do you know anyone like that, Andy?
So that feels easy. The part that is bubbling up now is I remember being so busy that I had no time for myself. And I really struggled because no one knew that I was so burnt out because I was just able to go and still produce. And so I'm so happy with where I'm at now that I think that there's a part of me that almost likes the freedom that I have. And so, you know, once I put one or two fields out there, it blooms.
Yeah.
And so just catching myself and reminding myself that I'm not in the same patterns that I was in when I started that, and that this time trusting myself that I'll be able to handle the amount of work that I do and say yes and no and when and where.
Well, let's slow it down. That's a great catch. You're catching a future problem with success. Mm-hmm. Most people don't see it, and they can't understand why they're holding themselves back. And there's this deep underlying mindset about the world that they can't see, and you see it. Mm-hmm. You know how to have success and be burnt out. Mm-hmm. You know how to have success on a lot of clients. And right now, having taken so much time for yourself, it feels really good. Yeah. You have a really high value on freedom. You like to show up when you want to show up and how you want to show up, and that feels really good. Yeah. And the thought of going back to where you used to be, my sense is you know that if you open this door and ask one person for a referral, the floodgates are open. Yeah, you get it. Yeah. So let's catch this. What the first activity you need to do before you reach out to anybody is to plan out your calendar. How many, we'll go on.
That's what I need help with.
Okay, great. Yeah.
If you want to ask me what I really need, I need help with a calendar.
That's great.
I've never used a calendar before.
Okay, great.
And when I used to put like sticky notes on my mirror to remind me of things, I used to duck under. And I remember even looking in half the mirror had sticky notes on it, and I never actually looked at them. And so even my calendar, I never wrote down my sessions. Yeah. So if I had 10 clients a day, it just went in my head, and then that was it.
Because you're a very body-based person, and anything that takes you out of your body into your head is actually overwhelming for you.
Yeah.
Here's an activity I'd like you to do. I'd like you to create your ideal average week. Mm-hmm. Get a piece of paper and draw 7 days on it. And then for each of those days, what do you want to be doing? Like Sundays, time for me. Mm-hmm. Monday, I want 1 client. Wednesday, I'll have 2 clients. I'll have 2 on Thursday as well, but I want Friday off. Mm-hmm. And Tuesday, I'm willing to work in the afternoon. So just really, really simple. 2 or 3 boxes on each day, no more. Sometimes only 1 box. Mm-hmm. How does that sound?
It sounds simple.
Okay. I want you to do it now. Okay. We're going to finish this moment, and I'll check in with you. It might be something we share together here, or I might check in with you later. Now, I'm going to be working with you, actually. Some of you have signed up for what we call the Pygmalion effect. It's a new program I made up a few months ago. I had this idea. I've never worked with one person over time. And Gabrielle and I were talking during our sessions where she was working on me, and I was playing with ideas. I said, well, what if it was you? So the person who's called, what did I call her? Bella, on the page where we talk about the Pygmalion effect is actually Gabrielle. And we're working with her for 6 weeks, coaching her. Because my vision for you is I see there's absolutely no reason, and you get it too, why you shouldn't have high-level clients, celebrities working with you, a handful of people, so you can have the lifestyle you want, the kind of clients you want, the people who have the resources, both financial, but mental and physical and emotional, to do the deep work needed to work with you. That's my vision for you. That's your vision for yourself. Mm-hmm. We're going to work with you on that for 6 weeks. I think we start in June. So this is just the start. But what we've done today, what was really fun about this is I got a chance to see there's at least 2 layers deep here. There's some of the surface layer fears around asking for word of mouth referrals. But beneath that, it's, I'm not going back to being overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. We're going to go and work down here first. And I think we'll be surprised at how quickly the universe starts to send you what you want.
That's what I was talking about with my friend yesterday, because all my friends always, they tell me to be careful about my tongue because I make a lot of jokes. And so I make a joke and then it happens like right instantly in front of your face. So when you ask me how you can help me or what I need in this moment, there's like a fear of asking for it because then
you'll get what you want. That's a great catch. A lot of people have that and don't catch it. They're actually afraid of asking for what they want because then they might get it.
Yeah.
So the only thing you're allowed to ask for right now is, how could I create a week that gives me energy? Mm. How could I create a week that gives me energy? Let's start by scribbling it out on a piece of paper. But that's the only question you're allowed to answer right now. How could I create a week that energizes me, that thrills me, that makes me feel alive? How's that sound?
I love that. Thank you.
Okay.